Okay, I'm going to do a quick demonstration of how to make pancakes. I'm using the same recipe that you guys are using, and I'm going to show you some of the things that you need as far as equipment goes. So equipment, I've got 2 mixing bowls, a smaller one and a larger one. One is for wet ingredients, and one is for the dry ingredients. I've got my measuring cups, my measuring spoons. I've got a whisk that I'm going to use to mix everything together. I'm going to use my rubber spatula so that I can scrape out the bowl when it gets to the end of the batter. The batter is a liquid that you've made after everything's completely mixed. I've got my spatula for flipping. I've got a wooden spoon in case I want to use that if the batter is a little bit too thick and I need to stir it all together. I've got a sieve for sifting. I've got a small bowl, which I'm going to use for the butter that I'm putting in the microwave, because if you're in one of the kitchens that has the metal bowls, you can use that for mixing, but you cannot put metal in the microwave. It will spark and cause a fire. I've also got a butter knife that I'm going to use to cut the butter with, or the margarine. I've got paper plate. Actually, I've got 2 of them. One of them is just to put my utensils on after I'm finished mixing with them or while they're resting. And then the other paper plate is to put my pancakes on after they've been cooked. And then, of course, we have our frying pan. And that's going to be going on the stove. Okay, ingredients. I've got my milk. I've got my eggs. I've got baking powder. I've got my salt. My vanilla. And then, of course, I've got my flour and my sugar. And those are back here on the end where all the rest of the stuff is for my kitchen. Okay, so we got flour and sugar. And then, if I wanted to, I've got my chocolate chips. And this will be in your kitchen. It'll have a label on it. Or if you wanted to put blueberries in there, the blueberries will be there. And then I've got my margarine. And then some of your kitchens may have cooking spray, some might not. If yours has cooking spray, use the cooking spray. If it does not, you can use a tablespoon of margarine. Okay? So I'm going to put all these up, and then we're going to get started mixing our ingredients. Okay, so your directions say to melt butter in microwave-safe bowl. So this is my butter right here, and if you'll notice on yours, it's got these things down here that tells you 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and so on. So you just need to cut wherever it says that. Okay? So for yours, you're looking at 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to take my knife, and I'm going to do that on a plate. So I'm just going to cut right there. So 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons. I'm going to cut. You can cut with this on, or you can take it off. So right about there is where I need it. I'm going to put my bowl here. Put that in there so I'm not touching it. Resting my knife on the plate. Put my butter back in the refrigerator. And then this is going to go into the microwave for about 10 to 15 seconds. Okay, while that's going, I'm going to go ahead and get my milk, my eggs ready. Your sous chef should be getting those ready because they're the ones that are measuring those ingredients. Okay, it's been about 10 seconds, maybe 12. Here it is. And I'm going to put that right into my big bowl, just like that. Okay, and then this is going to go in the sink. Your runner and your manager can go ahead and start washing the dishes. Okay, the next one is to, after I poured my butter into the mixing bowl, I'm going to add my egg, my milk, and my vanilla. Some of you have never cooked before, and some of you have cooked quite often. If you're one of those that have never cooked before, this is how you crack an egg. You're going to hit it on the side of the bowl until it's got a crack in there. And then you're going to take that piece, and you're going to take your thumbs, and you're going to pull it apart. Just like that. Okay? Just like that, throw it in the trash. So it says egg, milk, and vanilla. So for milk, I need 1 cup. I'm going to use my measuring cup here. And I'm going to pour this over the bowl so that if I happen to spill, it doesn't go on the countertop and make a mess. So filling it all the way to the brim, pour it in. And my vanilla. Now this is wet. Somebody's going to need to wash that because we need to use it for the flour in a little bit. Okay, for my vanilla, I'm going to use my measuring spoon. And we need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I'm going to grab this. And that's this one right here. Okay, if you take a look, it says teaspoon. I don't know if you can see it from that angle. Okay, so my vanilla is going to go same thing, right over the bowl so I don't spill it. And if I do, then it just goes in the bowl and not on the countertop. Okay, right up to the top of the brim, and then go in there. Okay, this also needs to be washed because we've got to use that for the salt and for the baking powder. So I'm going to have my runner and my manager wash that. Okay, direction number 4, it says to mix wet ingredients well. So that's what I'm going to use this for. I'm going to whisk it all together. And remember, your whisk is supposed to be used so that it can add air to whatever the liquid is. And I'm just going to hold my bowl at an angle. You can mix it like this. You've got to be kind of careful when you do that. But if you'll notice, my egg yolk is kind of in there. It's harder to break up. So I hold my bowl at an angle and I kind of whip it. Okay, whipped well. All right, now I'm going to put this right over here on my plate again so I don't make the countertop messy. Okay, the next thing is we're going to set this aside and we're going to use the other bowl. We're going to start sifting together the dry ingredients. So my dry ingredients include 1 cup of flour. Remember, I'm going to use my sifter for this. So I'm going to put a whole cup of flour there. Let's see, 4 tablespoons of sugar, 4 teaspoons of baking powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So we got our 1 cup. Let me move it over here so you can see. Got our 1 cup, and I'm going to use a knife as a leveler because my kitchen does not have a metal spatula. So I've got this just like that. And if you'll notice, right here, let's see if I can move this up just a tad. Okay, so I've got my mountain here. I'm going to take that, and remember I'm going to level it off inside over that. And then I'm going to put it right in my bowl. Okay. Now I'm done with this cup, so this can go in the sink. Okay, 4 tablespoons of sugar. I'm going to move my flour out of the way. And I'm going to use my sugar. Remember this one, you fill it to heaping, and then you level it off. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, that's going in there. Put my flour away, my sugar away. Then I'm going to do my 4 teaspoons of baking powder. Remember on this one, you can use that leveler that's already on the can. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now right about here when I get to this point, I'm probably going to want to go ahead and get the salt out if they have not already, and do a 1/2 teaspoon. I don't know if you can see that. 1/2 teaspoon of my salt. And this is going to kind of balance out the flavors, and it also helps that baking powder to rise. Okay. Now I'm done with this. This can also go in the sink. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to shake it up. All my ingredients are going to be incorporated pretty well. And then if there's any lumps, I can get those out. So you can see there's a little bit of lump right there. See that? So if I need to, I can take my rubber spatula and I'm just going to crush that down. Now this right here, these are like crystals. I don't know if you can see that. See that? So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to throw it away. Okay, and then we're good to go on that. All right, so now we've got this all mixed together. Our next ingredient says to add the dry ingredients. Our next direction is number 7, number 6. Add dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. So I've got this. I'm going to take that and I'm just going to get that right in there. Hold this. And I'm just going to scrape that out. Anything else that needs to be out. Okay. Now I'm going to take this again and I'm going to mix it really slow. Because if I mix it too fast, then all that flour and everything is going to start coming out. I'm going to scrape the sides and the edges, mix that together. If I need to get my rubber spatula to scrape the sides, I can do that too. Once you've got it all wet, then you can kind of start whipping it around. And you're going to try to get it as smooth as you can. If it's kind of lumpy, like you can kind of see there's some lumps in there, that's okay. It's not really that big of a deal, but you want to do your best to get it as smooth as possible. Okay. So before I add the variations on, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my stove. And this needs to go to medium. I think it says medium-high heat. Yep, medium-high. So make sure that you're paying attention to which stove you're turning on. Move down here a little bit closer. Because we want to make sure that we're getting the one that's for this burner. Okay, so the pictures show which burner you should be turning on. I had kids that were turning on the wrong ones last year. So this is high. Medium would be right about here in the middle, right? So we want medium-high. So probably around 7, maybe even 6. All right. So we're going to get that turned on. Now, if you'll take a look at your directions, it says the heat skillet or frying pan on medium-high heat, right? So looking down there, your directions say medium-high heat. Right there on number 7. Now with that, then you use the nonstick cooking spray or butter to coat the pan. So you have to heat it up first before you add it. And I just kind of fill over the top to see if it's hot enough. While that's still heating up, I'm going to go ahead and add my variation to my pancakes. Okay, so what we're using, we're going to go ahead and use the chocolate chips. And make sure that you're double checking to see how much chocolate chips you should put in there. This one says a 1/3 cup. So I'm going to do my 1/3 cup. Okay. Now on this one, I'm just going to do the same thing I did with that brown sugar that I showed you before. I'm just going to shake it off in the bag until it's about level. And then I'm going to add it in there. Now the problem with adding chocolate chips or blueberries to your batter is that it gets kind of chunky, and once it gets chunky, all of your bits start to get inside the whisk. So once you're adding this, you don't need the whisk anymore. You can go ahead and use your wooden spoon or your rubber spatula. Okay, so we're just going to mix that around. You want to make sure, because these are kind of heavy, that they're going to start sinking to the bottom. I don't know if you can see it on there, but they start sinking to the bottom. So before you get your batter, Make sure you kind of stirred that around, get them back up to the top so that when you scoop it out with your quarter cup, with this quarter cup, it's going to scoop out some of those chocolate chips or blueberries too. Okay, we're double checking here. It's getting warmer. I don't want it too hot. I think while we're going to do that, I'm going to go ahead and add some cinnamon. Okay, take a look at the cinnamon. So you should have some of this in your cupboard. I'm going to use my measuring spoons. And it says 1/4 teaspoon, which is really small because you don't need much at all. Now, if you're in a kitchen that has different teaspoons and you happen to not have one that says 1/4, just look and see what you've got. This one says 1/2 teaspoon. So I'm just going to do half of the half, right? Because half of 0.5 is 1/4, or 0.25. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now this I kind of just tap on the side and just get about what I need. I'm not going to level it off because it's too small. Okay, put that in there. And I had to remove this. So if that's the case, when you're ready to take yours, remove it, scoop it out, and then put the shaker top back on. And we're going to mix that up too. Okay, let's take a look over here. So my pan's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and spray it with cooking spray. I'm not going to spray it like this close and go like this. I'm going to hold it from a distance. Because if I hold it from a distance, I can cover more surface area. And it's not going to be so much. So see how that distance that I held it at? If it starts smoking, it might have gotten too hot, so we're going to turn it down just a little bit. Okay, so it's already on. It's good to go. I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to stir that up so I can get my chocolate chips back up to the top a little bit. And then I'm going to rest this on that plate that I was using so I don't get the countertop messy. Okay. So I'm just going to do 1/4 cup, and I'm just going to watch it. Now what I'm looking for is I'm going to be looking for little bubbles. When I start to see a lot of bubbles on the top and the edges start looking dry, then it's ready to flip over. If I do it too soon, it's going to be a little more difficult. This is going to be too soupy, and once I try to pick it up, it's just going to fall over because it hasn't solidified on the bottom yet. Okay, so this is what I mean. See when the bubbles are on there, they start popping? Like right there, those bubbles start popping. So it's getting some of the air out. I'm looking at the edges to see if the edges are kind of dry. And it looks like it's puffed up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that over. Now you're going to get all the way under. If you do it quicker, it's easier. Then you're going to flip that. Okay? Now the first one always looks the worst, and that's because it's picking up all the grease or the butter or margarine or the cooking oil, cooking spray from the bottom. The rest of them always look better. And you do not need to put more cooking spray on. Okay? So once you've done it the first time, you can put that lid on and you're done with it. You don't need it anymore. Okay? This side won't cook as long because it's already halfway cooked through. So we're just going to keep it on there for maybe 30 more seconds, and then we're going to put it onto our plate right here. Now this, don't keep it on the stove. Go ahead and make sure that you put it on the countertop, because we want to make sure that we don't cause any fires and anything's getting too hot. Okay, that looks good. So, not too bad. We're going to go ahead and transfer that to the plate. I'm going to turn this down maybe to 5 right here because it looks like it's getting too hot too fast. And then I'm going to use my measuring cup to kind of mix around those chocolate chips again before I do my next batch. So holding it over the pan so that if it drips I don't make a mess, and then we're going right on top. Make sure your pan is centered on that heating element, which is this thing right here, that coil, that's the heating element. I've turned it down to 5 so it can cook a little bit slower. Hopefully that won't cause it to look too burnt. This is actually not burnt, it's just picked up a lot of that cooking spray. Now this one's gotten a lot faster. Do you see how the bubbles are already popping pretty quick? And now I'm looking right here on the edge, and I can already see that those edges are looking dry. So again, I'm gonna put my spatula under really fast, real quick like that, and I can kind of feel. And there we go. Now the slower you do your spatula, the harder it's gonna be to get it under the whole thing. You also want to make sure that on a non-stick cooking pan like this, that you're using one that's plastic. If you use the metal one, it's going to scrape off all this non-stick surface. Okay, so for the next one, I'm going to kind of speed it up just a little bit so I can get my my batter done quicker. You can do the same if you want to. So I'm going to try doing maybe 2 in the same pan because my pan is pretty big. And I'm going to see if I can fit 2 in there. And that'll kind of help us go a little bit faster so that we don't take so much time doing this. Okay, that looks good. All right, mix it up a little bit. Let's try 2 pancakes. One on this side. One on this side. Now remember, my heating element's in the middle, so I can kind of move this over a little bit to get it cooked on that side. I'll move it over this way a little bit to get this one cooking. Because right now it's cooking closer in the middle. But the way the pans are on the back of them, let me show you. They've got this thing, so it kind of spreads that heat all the way out to the edges, even if our pancakes are not right in the center. Okay? All right, let's try this. That one's not quite ready on the edges. This one might be a little bit too soon. I'm going to move it over so I can get the edges over there cooked a little bit faster. Move it on this side. As you can see, there's bubbles on this edge, but there's not so many bubbles on this edge because this was the part that wasn't directly on the heat. All right, I'm going to flip it. The faster you flip it, the better. Just like that. You guys don't have a whole lot of time to get creative with them, but if you happen to make this recipe at home, you could do some fun things with it. I know when my kids were growing up, they liked to have like Mickey Mouse pancakes, and we would just do a big one in the middle, and then we do some small ears on the top. I'll show you that real quick, and then we'll go ahead and finish out the video. I kind of tap it just to see if it seems like it's still liquidy in the middle. You can see it bouncing back. So it could just be fluffy. That looks good. Okay, let's see if we can make a Mickey. So I've got 4 pancakes done already. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a 1/4 cup in the middle. And then I'm going to take my, tablespoon and do some ears. Do it right above here. And then I'm going to move these ears a little more towards the center. So this is obviously going to cook a little bit faster because I put that down first. So I'm going to let these cook a little bit, And then we'll see, because it's a little bit bigger and my spatula is kind of short, I might not be able to get the whole thing, especially if it's got these cracks. So if you have a spatula that's longer, that would be perfect. Okay, ready for flipping. Here we go. I'm going to kind of go underneath these ears first. Remember, you can turn this handle. Okay, let's see if we can do this quick. Faster the better. All right. Mickey Mouse. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start plating. I'm going to take this. You guys should have enough pancakes for everybody to have 2 in your group. I'm going to take my syrup. You got to take that cap thing off first, because it's on yours. And take this Mickey Mouse off. And then I'm just going to douse this in syrup, because that's the one I'm eating. There you go. Got your pancakes. Tastes good. Really sweet with those chocolate chips. Okay. I might stop the video here, as you guys have already seen, but I'm going to keep recording for myself, just so I can show the scraping of the pancake batter out of the bowl. If you're cooking for little ones, one thing that I usually do for my kids, because it's harder for them when they were younger, to cut the pancake with a fork, is I would take my tablespoon measuring cup, or a measuring spoon, and I would just do little sand dollar sizes. And then they can eat those with their hands, and they just dip it in syrup. This one's probably ready. Oh, not right. Not quite. Get around the edges a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna do it quick. Quick and painless. These little ones are already getting bubbling around the edges. Go ahead and flip those. That's gonna happen. See how that's one on top of the other? No big deal. It all tastes the same when it gets into your stomach, right? That's sweet. Them chocolate chips are sweet. Okay, that one's probably good. That off. Look at that one. Nice and golden. Take these off. Okay, so I've made what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's probably like 7. So the last little bit, I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm not going to measure it out with the measuring cup. I'm just going to scrape it with the rubber spatula, just like this. Right into the pan. It's going to be a little bit bigger than my other ones. Okay, That's it. Wash this out. Wouldn't that be so sad if I did this whole video and then when I went back to turn it off, I noticed that I never pressed record and I have to make pancakes all over again. The dry edges. Let me zoom in real quick since this one's a little bit bigger. See the dry edges? Right around there. Lots of bubbles on the dry edges. When they start popping, you flip. Okay, this one's a little bit bigger. Ready? I gotta put this down. Here you go. Look at that. Got some right there. That little dot. But my floor is clean. Okay, don't forget when you finish, turn this off. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off because it doesn't need full power to just cook like half the pancake, and that's the last one left. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off because it's still going to stay warm enough. Remember, I cooked 8 pancakes on this thing without adding some more of the cooking spray or butter. Once is good. You just do it at the beginning, and then the whole thing is good for the rest of the time that you're making pancakes. See how that's kind of looks like there might be some liquid in the middle? It needs to cook a little bit longer. Oh, here's one thing I got for you guys. I got some Cool Whip. You take that, and the dot right there. And now, since I'm here all by myself, I have to do all the dishes all by myself. I don't have a team like you guys do to do it. All around. All right, we're good, y'all. Look at all these pancakes. Yum. Good to go. Best of luck to you.